Welcome back to another edition of Long Ball, your weekly stop for Blue Jays news and analysis here at Post Media. Rob Wong, as always, joined alongside by Toronto Sun Blue Jays writer and columnist Rob Longley. And Rob, hard to believe it, final week of the regular season here as the Blue Jays are primed to clinch a playoff spot with just a few games remaining here. Seems like the offense is starting to come around, which is obviously a great time to be doing that. But there's maybe a benefit here as well of playing in playoff-type atmosphere games before the real thing even gets going.
Yeah, Rob, as we talk here today, there's 8 games remaining, and obviously that goes down by the day, and we're getting very, very close to it. And we're getting that sense around this team that they can sort of smell the playoffs coming around, and we're seeing it in a lot of ways. Big crowds at the Rogers Center, of course, but I really like the mindset of what the Blue Jays have shown me over the past week or so. And by that I mean they're approaching each series as if it's a playoff series. So when they were in Tampa and they lost the first 2 games, they really knuckled down and battled back to win the last 2 games of that series to get the split. But moreover, they did it against good pitching and it's, in playoff type atmospheres. And of course, the first win against the Yankees here when they returned to Toronto was an outstanding baseball game, a 3-2 walk-off win with Vlad Guerrero Jr., getting the big single in the 10th to seal it. But it was a playoff-like game the entire way. Great pitching, great tactical play by both managers, great bullpen work from both teams, and the kind of baseball that the Jays are really, really looking forward to playing come later this month and into October. And it's funny, we talked to Vlad, speaking to the point about the atmosphere at the Rogers Center, we talked to Vlad Guerrero Jr. after that game, and he had mentioned that he had recently spoken with both fellow Dominican residents, Jose Bautista and Edwin Encarnacion, and they basically said to him, Vlad, you have not seen what Toronto is like in the playoffs, and he hasn't. I mean, it's with the pandemic and with the team that was rebuilding, he has no idea of what he's in for when this team gets to the playoffs, and I think that's why I think there's a recognition from the ball club that home field advantage can be a very distinct one. And that's why there is a real motivation and a real focus on locking down the top wildcard spots. So you play the first 3 games, the entirety of a best 2 out of 3 series in Toronto. And to your point about the offense, yeah, I mean, we're starting to see it heat up at the right time. Teoscar Hernandez, who, couple episodes at least, Rob, we've talked about the need for him to wake up his bat a little bit. But I think more importantly, the offense seems to be coming through at important times in ball games, and that's what you're going to need to have success in the playoffs, to have clutch at bats in key situations. And if there's anything that's really encouraging about their offense right now, I think that would be it.
Speaking of clutch at bats, Aaron Judge obviously in search of home runs number 61 and 62 coming into the week against the Blue Jays. Always a media circus surrounding the Yankees, Rob, but especially right now with Judge and that chase trying to get to Roger Maris's record, of course. What do you make of the hoopla just surrounding this whole chase, and how are teams going about it, trying to prevent it from happening against them? That seems to be a pretty active thing in a lot of teams' minds.
I know that some people are getting a little bit tired of it, but I love it. I think it's great for baseball. We talked off air, Rob, about when the Barry Bonds chase and the Mark McGwire, similar situations when they're chasing home run records. It's great for baseball. It's great for fans. It's truly exciting. And in the case of Aaron Judge specifically, as it relates to the Blue Jays, it made for some incredible drama in the first of 3 games here. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the way? But the Jays came in there with a very tactical approach to try to get this guy to not have it happen at the Rogers Center, a place that he's hit 11 home runs in his career. And, Kevin Gausman, who got the ball in the first game, he made sure that he was giving Judge the type of pitches that he was not going to hit out of the ballpark, even if it meant that he was going to get on base. And one of the quirky things about that outing is Judge's first 4 at-bats, he led off innings. And the strategy is to pitch a guy like that carefully. It's kind of tough to do when he's a leadoff guy. And he got a single and he got a walk, but he really didn't hit anything in the air other than a shallow fly ball. But so, yeah, I think it's really exciting. And I think it's fascinating the way that the Blue Jays are approaching it. And if you zoom out to the larger picture of the Blue Jays, there's sort of 2 things that they were looking at in this series against the Yankees. One, they didn't want Judge to make history on their turf. And two, there's a bunch of champagne at the Rogers Center for the Yankees, who are hoping to celebrate clinching the American League East, and the Blue Jays don't want any part of that happening. So yeah, that just adds, circling back to the start of this conversation, it kind of adds to that playoff feel, and the fact that those days are coming quick. It's going to be a pretty exciting time all around baseball, and specifically very much so with the Toronto Blue Jays.
Now, of course, since the show is named Long Ball, how can we not talk about Albert Pujols hitting home run number 700? Many, myself included, Rob, didn't think he would ever get there, but this is quite a storybook ending for a guy that's obviously going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah,
it's almost like he could smell the finish line of his career, obviously. And there was a point like earlier in the summer where it was a real long shot that he would get to that historic mark, but he caught fire in September, and it's like it's almost like he summoned whatever strength he had left in him. I mean, this guy's been a great hitter all his career, and I've seen him physically this year. He's still a very big, powerful man. But he's certainly not the hand-eye guy that he was early in his career. But he gave it one last surge, and I think it's just a great add to the playoff races, and a tribute to a brilliant career, a brilliant Hall of Fame career for him to do what he's done and to really go out in style.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of history has been made this week. We'll see what kind of history the Blue Jays write for themselves heading into the final week of the season and into the playoffs. As always, you can find Rob's work at the Toronto Sun, and you can find him on Twitter at Longley Sun Sport.